Hello and welcome back to the Wrestling Group on YouTube. Today I am going to be predicting AEW Grand Slam, the Grand Slam episode of Dynamite, which takes place tonight. Normally I don't usually do predictions for a normal weekly show, but this card is absolutely stacked, and I think every single match is going to be a really good match. So I thought, I'll do a little video, do a little predictions run, and feel free to comment your predictions in the comment section below. And then obviously afterwards you can have a look through and see if you beat me in predictions, see if you predicted more than what I did. That comes true. So we'll kick off with Jon Moxley versus Rey Fenix for the AEW International Championship. Obviously Mox hasn't held the belt that long. What's he already on now? Is it 3-4 title defenses already? I expect Mox to retain here. I mean, I love both guys. Obviously, I'm a massive Jon Moxley fan. If you watched any of my videos, you know that by now. But I absolutely love Rey Fenix. I think he's a superb athlete. He's brilliant in the ring. I hope at some point he holds a good singles title like this one, or even the TNT Championship as well. I do really want to see Fenix. I know we've had obviously the Lucha Brothers win the tag belts, and we've had Death Triangle win the trios, but I want to see him hold a mid card solo title on his own. We've seen Penta do it before in the past. He's been Impact World Champ. He's been the world champion of a big company. So I'd like to see, obviously, like say Rey Fenix get that chance to hold a single title too. I just feel like Mox is there'd be no point in giving him the belt. Yes, he's defended it like 3 or 4 times in the last couple of weeks. There'd be no point in giving him the belt if they're not really going to do that much with it. I wouldn't expect Mox to be a transitional champ, not in AEW anyway. And I fully expect him to turn up in New Japan at some point with the belt as well to defend it. Obviously in Japan, with him having his citizenship in Japan now, and he can go over obviously and work there. So I wouldn't expect Mox to drop it. I wouldn't be disappointed if he did, don't get me wrong. I mean, I feel like obviously Mox should win, for the simple fact that from going from someone who defends the belt on, what was it, 31 occasions, to then someone who defends it like 3 or 4 might not be great for the bat. I don't want to then see it become a hot potato like what we've seen with the TNT Championship for a while, where like people having 3 and 4 championship reigns. But yeah, we had like 6 different champs in the space of a month. I don't really want to see that with this belt. But at the same time, we don't need another 30-day defense or 30 title defenses. Just a bit more, a few more defenses for Mox, and hopefully we get to see it in international waters. We've seen it obviously at the very beginning when it was the All Atlantic, and it was defended in the UK once or twice. So it would be good to see it being defended in Japan, and obviously like Rey Fenix, like a lot of people say, well, we defend it in Mexico and that, but he's not working with AAA anymore. So is it likely that he would take it international waters? I'm not too sure. But for me, it's going to be Jon Moxley to retain. So we move on to Chris Jericho versus Sammy Guevara, another absolute banger. We've got Chris Jericho, obviously one of the absolute greatest of all times, one of my absolute favourite wrestlers ever. And Sammy Guevara is someone who I didn't know really anything about until he come into AEW, and even at the beginning you could see he had a bit of talent, but he didn't really have that character work, did he? And he's had a bit of up and down time in AEW, but the fans seem to be right behind him at this moment in time. So I mean, for them to finally face each other, they've been together since the very first episode of Dynamite, which obviously Jericho keeps reminding us. But I'd expect. Well, I wouldn't say I'd expect. I'm going for the Sammy Guevara takes the win, and then Chris Jericho attacks him after the match. Because if Chris Jericho wins, then what are they going to do? Just continue as a tag team? I couldn't imagine a Sammy heel turn on Jericho, because that make Jericho face, and he's yet really to be a face in AEW, and obviously he is a much better worker as a heel. So I would expect Sammy Guevara to get a win, whether it be, I don't know, maybe a holding of the tights or something where it was a bit dubious maybe. I don't know, because that's a heel move, but I don't know. I expect obviously Sammy to get some sort of victory here, and then Chris Jericho to attack him afterwards, and then that'll start them in a full blown feud, push Sammy as a face, and obviously Jericho being the heel that he plays so perfectly. So for me, match number two. Well, I say match number two. These are just what I've got written down in this order. It's not necessarily to say that that's the order that they're going to go in tonight, because I'm not sure what the order is, if it's been announced at all. So for me, the second match I've got down anyway is Sammy Guevara picks up the win and Chris Jericho turns heel. And we move on to the Women's Championship match. We have AEW Women's Champion Saraya. Again, another one of my favourite wrestlers. I think she's superb. Like I said in the video, if you watched it, if you haven't, you can go back and watch. I did a video after she'd won the AEW Women's Championship, and I've been watching wrestling pretty much all my life. And the only time I've ever teared up during anything to do with wrestling at all was when she held that belt up high. It was just a fantastic moment. And Toni Storm is an amazing talent. I love Toni. I loved her on the Indies. I loved her in NXT. And I've loved her in AEW. She's two-time AEW Women's Champion. There's a reason for that, because she's really talented. I'm a bit gutted. I am a fan of the Outcasts, so I am a bit gutted that they seem to be splitting the Outcasts up, because I really do like the three of them together. But at the same time, Tony's tapped into absolutely something phenomenal with this character. It is brilliant. Chin up, tits out, and watch for the shoe. Come on. It's stupid, but it's brilliant at the same time. So, Tony's done brilliantly. She's tapped into this character. And I don't feel like after this match that there's going to be a place for Toni anymore in the Outcasts. And obviously if that's the case, I hope they still keep Ruby and Saraya together, and maybe add another member. Because I do enjoy the Outcasts. Plus, with Saraya not being able to wrestle due to endometriosis, due to that, it makes sense if they keep the belt on her, to obviously give her a faction to beat people down and continue storylines while she can't wrestle every week. So for me, like I say, I'm going to go for the Saraya win. It's a first title defence. It makes sense for her to retain the belt after that big crowning moment, obviously in London. And Toni's been two-time champ. She doesn't need it. And she's doing something phenomenal right now with this character, so she doesn't really need it. But I'm going to say Saraya takes the win via some interference from Ruby Soho. Don't forget, Toni cost Soho the TBS championship, so why not have it the other way around, and Ruby, if you're going to split the Outcasts up, have Ruby cost Toni and have Saraya retain the women's championship. So that's what I'm going for there. Up next, which is going to be absolutely nuts. We've seen them face time and time again. They've absolutely brutalised each other, and I expect absolutely nothing different, nothing less, from Claudio Castagnoli versus Eddie Kingston for title versus title. It's the Ring of Honor World Championship versus the New Japan Strong Never Openweight Championship. Eddie's not long won the belt. I don't think he's defended it yet. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure, if I can think right off the top of my head, he hasn't defended the belt yet. So, and Eddie hasn't had a singles belt in a long time, especially in a big company like Japan. So for Eddie to then drop it straight away to Claudio, would they have continued the story for so long after Eddie versus Kingston, Eddie versus Claudio, at the last Ring of Honor pay-per-view? And they let us know that they were supposed to face again, and then Eddie decided to go to Japan. He wins the belt, he does the G1, comes back, and he's only got eyes for Claudio still. Puts him and Mox in awkward situations, because obviously Mox is part of Blackpool Combat Club. They done the Anarchy in the Arena, where he literally just went for Claudio. Would they do all this to just have Claudio beat him again? I don't think they would. I hope not, because I love Claudio Castagnoli. I think he's been brilliant, and I do enjoy seeing him on Ring of Honor. The problem I have with Ring of Honor, obviously at the moment, is it just seems to be every week there's a title match. Every week there's a world title match. Every week there's a women's championship match as well. and there's just no structure, no sort of divisions or anything. Plus, like Eddie's over as hell right now. So if you know, obviously we've got a lot of space in it. Well, not a lot of space. There's a massive roster, but you've got 5 hours of TV a week for AEW. But then you've got 2 hours of Ring of Honor. Why not start to use people specifically just for Ring of Honor? Eddie Kingston's perfect for that as the world champion right at the top. You know, you could have some great matches with like Dalton Castle, Shane Taylor, even Samoa Joe if they wanted to. Um, you know, Matt Taven. You know, there's so many people that they could use like sort of exclusively for Ring of Honor, and you know Eddie Kingston would be brilliant for that. So my pick here is going to be Eddie takes both titles. He finally becomes a world champion, which again is another feel good moment in wrestling. It'd be brilliant to see him lift the world title. Claudio doesn't need the belt anymore. He's done everything he can with it. You know, like I say, he's 2-time champ. He's done really well. And then we can get him solely back in AEW and have him maybe even pushing towards the AEW World Championship. I mean, he's pretty much been around the Ring of Honor scene since he come in. Yes, he's been doing AEW as well, but like he's either been Ring of Honor World Champ or he's been challenging for the Ring of Honor World Championship since being in AEW. So why not we see what he can do just solely in AEW, give him maybe a TNT Championship run. Um, Pushing for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Why not? Why not put the AEW World title on him? It's shocking to me how WWE didn't realise his potential for him to be a world champion while he was there, and they should have absolutely made him a world champ. And so for me, Eddie takes the win and sets off and hopefully brings some structure into Ring of Honor. So I predict the main event. Not to say it will be, but I'd assume whichever one of the last match I said in this match, whichever one's on as the main event, the other one will open the show. Cause the two biggest matches of the night. No disrespect to anyone else in the matches, because I think all matches are going to be a banger. But I wouldn't imagine these would go back to back somehow. So we have Samoa Joe, who's the Ring of Honor Television Champion, versus MJF for the AEW World Championship. This is a hard one for me. I absolutely love Samoa Joe. He's one of my favourite wrestlers, again, of all time. He's superb. His stuff in TNA was brilliant. His stuff in early Ring of Honor was brilliant. You know, his stuff in NXT was great. You know, his commentating in WA, no, in wrestling. And since he's obviously come over into AEW, you know, he beat Suzuki for the belt. It was about a year and a half ago, something like that now, and he's been brilliant with it. And, you know, Samoa Joe is a perfect heel for a face MJF. It's something I'd never thought I'd actually say. But, you know, I think this is going to be a good match. I think it's going to be brutal. I don't know how it's going to end. You know, MJF has turned around and said he's going to choke him out. So for me, if MJF wins, he's got to choke him out. Like he said with Darby, I'll beat you by a headlock takeover, and he's done it twice. So if he says it, he normally does it. Can MJF choke out Samoa Joe? It's not like he taps out. It's not like he's going to put him in the oh god, my mind's gone blank. The salt of the earth, and have him tap. He said he's going to choke him out. So can he choke out Samoa Joe? I don't know. To be fair, it'd be funny if he choked him out to the Anaconda Vice, though, wouldn't it? Imagine the crowd on that. Would I like to see Samoa Joe as AEW World Champion? Absolutely. I think he'd be brilliant as AEW World Champ. I wouldn't expect him to have a 6 month to a year reign, but he'd be good for a few months. You know, could they be using Samoa Joe as sort of filling for CM Punk? Because, you know, would CM Punk have won the AEW World Championship again? It's a possibility. So instead of then keeping the belt on Maxwell, will they then look at Samoa Joe? It's a possibility, and I wouldn't be disappointed if Samoa Joe won. Definitely wouldn't be disappointed if Samoa Joe won. But having said that, I expect MJF to retain. I expect MJF to retain because MJF is the most over thing probably in AEW right now. One of the most over people in wrestling altogether. And I expect him to ride out for as long as he can. And I don't know who I see having MJF being beaten by. Like, my original idea was MJF would lose to Adam Cole. I always seen Adam Cole as being MJF's great babyface for a great heel. And it worked at the beginning, and then they've obviously done this storyline where they put them together as a team, and it got over massively, and now the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. So, would they then have them face yet again after only facing just recently? Well, they're on now about 3 matches. Would they have them face yet again for the title and then have Adam Cole go over? It's like, well, yeah, but he's beat you how many times before? I don't know if that's in their plans right now. So, like I say, Adam Cole was who I thought would take the belt off him, because I always said it'd be MJF, then Adam Cole, then Jay White. So now you've got MJF, who's a face. Could we have Jay White come in and take the belt from MJF, like a heel Jay White versus a face MJF? It's an interesting one for me. Like, I'm a massive Jay White fan. I'm a massive MJF fan. And I think, MJF, Jay White still is yet to lose a match in AEW in solos. He's not lost a solo match yet in AEW, so it would make perfect sense to have him win a couple more matches and then go against MJF and hopefully win and take that big belt. But as of right now, it's Mojo versus MJF, and I'm going to say MJF retains. I'm not sure how though, but it'll be definitely an interesting one nevertheless. But this is an absolute stacked card of 5 matches, and I expect us to see some other bits and pieces involved, promos and stuff, but it's definitely going to be, for me as an AEW fan, must see 2 hours worth of television. So let me know in the comments, what are your predictions for tonight's AEW Dynamite, AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, whatever you want to call it. Let me know what your predictions are in the comments, and then we can have a look and see if you've predicted more right than what I have, if you've predicted the same as me, or if I'm better than you, and you know it. So, as I say, let me know in the comments below. Give us a like, give us a comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you don't already, and let's enjoy AEW tonight. And as always, keep an eye out for more wrestling related content coming your way soon.